Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're going to be talking about how there could be one thing that might give me just enough doubt to perhaps not believe the Grinch Leak. Well, to be clear, Charmander, I actually am Team Real. I do think this is likely. I think there's so much evidence that's mounting, it just seems like this thing is probably real. But, exactly, there is something out there that I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that just... there's something about it that shows discrepancies. It shows that this might be fake, this might be a fabrication, this might be an elaborate hoax. So, let's talk about it and decide if this thing is real or fake, and just look at all the evidence and decide for ourselves. If you clicked on a Grinch Leak video and you weren't expecting spoilers, well, you should have, and this is your warning, there will be spoilers assuming this leak is real. So, as I said before, I am Team Real. I do think that this Grinch leak is probably real. But that does not change the fact that I do have doubts. This could be an elaborate hoax, and there are some points that have been made that do suggest perhaps that this leak might not be real. Now, one point that's been made is that 7 characters is just too much to reveal in such a short amount of time. I see that argument, and I'm not going to say that I have not sort of thought that myself, but I also think that Sakurai could reveal however many characters whenever he wants. Technically, at E3, he revealed a whole bunch, and considering all the different factors involved with the characters, I don't think that that alone is really going to take away too much from the leak. Another point that's been made is that the shadows under both Pikmin and Olimar within the banner are inconsistent with what we've seen with the official banners. Except here's the thing, we've actually gotten multiple different banners every time we've gotten a different character revealed, and each time the shadows have been different. So I wouldn't expect it to be any different this time around. They would have adjusted the shadows, and after taking a look myself, personally, I still feel like the shadows there make sense. You guys could disagree, but in my opinion, I don't really think that that takes too much away from the leak. However, there has been a point that has filled me with a pretty good amount of doubt until recently in regards to the Grinch leak. And this point is the one in regards to that backdrop within the second snapshot shot, the one on the left that shows no characters, the one that's just a clean slate of the background. Artsy Omni actually made a pretty good video showing this backdrop compared to an official backdrop we've gotten at an event. I believe it was at E3. When we compare the two, there are some clear differences. So then, does that mean that this person recreated the backdrop because they didn't know how it would look behind the characters and they took the characters out? That might be the case. So does that mean that this image is fake? Maybe, maybe not actually. So here's the thing. I've heard that various different arguments, and I've watched videos from both PapaGenos and BillyBoat10K, and they've made some pretty good points as well. And from what I understand, what I've done in the past, you know, I can actually envision that the image would be changed. Because here's the thing, you have to take into consideration that the whole story behind this leak, right? Because if it is fake, it is just a story, right? But it also could be reality, is that these are shots of actual imagery, promotional material that's actually within instructions. This isn't meant for the public eye. This is not for the consumer. This is meant for whoever is working within this printing company or whoever this is being sent to that's setting up displays to learn about how to put this together. This is instructional material. So then after that, it could be presentable to the public eye for the consumer. If you take a look at the left image, if you look at the different diagrams, these are all instructions on how to put together different displays. If you look at the top, we can see what would look like some sort of like lamp-like structure, and if that's the case, maybe then this banner art would be backlit, and if it's backlit, they might have to change around the background so the composition and the contrast between the characters might make more sense. I've seen that done before. This could be the case this time around as well. Another possibility is that they did recreate the backdrop because they wanted to show how it all fit together for the instructions. Is that possible? Maybe. That's happened before within different kinds of instructions. Myself personally, I have worked within retail before behind closed doors with different sort of products that haven't been shown off yet, and the thing is, like, a lot of times instructions aren't one-to-one with the source material. This happens all the time, so just because there's a matchup one-to-one with the source material doesn't really matter, because the sole purpose of this is just for instructional reasons, just so the people who are putting this together can know how to put it together. So then, with those explanations in mind, does that 100% clear my doubt for this discrepancy that we've seen between this image and the official one we've gotten at an event? No, it doesn't 100% clear it up, but it does offer enough so I can give it the benefit of the doubt when I take into consideration all the other mounting pieces of evidence. Now, to be honest with you, it's going to be kind of hard to talk about every single piece of evidence that's in support of the leak in just one particular video, but I'm going to try and do it real quick and summarize it all. So one of the interesting coincidences that's happened recently is that we've noticed that 4 different franchises have gotten their trademarks renewed: Banjo-Kazooie, Rhythm Heaven, Mock Rider, and Golden Sun. Golden Sun is for Isaac within the Banner League, Rhythm Heaven's for Chorus Kids, Mock Rider is for Mock Rider, and Banjo-Kazooie is for Banjo-Kazooie. It seems pretty coincidental that 4 of these franchises had their trademarks renewed right before the game is coming out. This has all happened all within about a year of each other. While yes, game franchises have to be renewed regardless, they don't have to be renewed every year, so the fact that all 4 of these line up to be renewed all recently, very interesting. Not all of them need to be renewed that quickly. Another interesting thing is that we've seen the Smash Bros. Website at one point it actually had a clipped piece of Little Mac's arm. Now what's interesting about this is that if you look at the banner leak from the Grinch Leak, right, we've seen where Isaac would be and it fits right in with where Little Mac was cut off. So some people have been speculating that maybe Isaac was cut away from an older direct, maybe it's the September Nintendo Direct when it was delayed, maybe because of the earthquake they just thought he wouldn't be in good taste. That's a possibility. So maybe that's the case. Is it 100% confirmed? Is this what actually happened? No, not necessarily. But it is an interesting coincidence. Now another thing that's come up in a recent video from Nintendo showing off Smash Bros. At an event, we got to see an item, a new item that we haven't seen before, and a lot of people have been suggesting that maybe it could be from Golden Sun, and after taking a look at it, it might be. Is it exactly the same one-to-one? No, but it seems to match up pretty well to this Golden Sun item more than anything else. So then, if this is actually a Golden Sun item, does that mean Isaac from Golden Sun is going to be a fighter in Smash Bros.? Also, no, not necessarily, but it does make it a lot more likely, and it's reasonable to think that maybe now it could happen. And considering this, it does seem way more likely now that Isaac is going to be in Smash Bros. And if Isaac is going to be in Smash Bros., it kind of fits out pretty well with the Grinch Leak the same way the patents have. So these are all contributing coincidences that seem to make the leak even more likely. Now on top of all of that, if you just take a look at the banner itself, if you have a decent understanding of how these things are put together, this would have actually taken an extreme amount of work. Because not only is it fit into just a small piece of this entire snapshot that was only showed for a couple seconds and not shown to everyone, this piece, while just being a small piece of the overall image and not really being shown off, has a lot of work being put into it if it was fabricated. Because the thing is, this person doesn't have access to all the individual PNG files and the layers for this kind of image. They would have had to have clipped out every single image and rearranged them, and that takes an extreme amount of work to organize it all the way, and it has. And on top of that, they would have had to create individual art for each new character in the game. So it would just be an extraordinary work considering everything else. So for me, that just seems like way too much work. This is way more work than, let's say, for example, that Rayman leak. That was just minuscule compared to the amount of work we've seen already. And on top of that, the story holds up pretty well. In terms of the history with the printing companies, Eric Bricard worked at one company that was associated with Bandai Namco, but that was 2 years ago. He no longer works with them. They put out a statement stating that very exact same thing, and they've also put out that statement because they didn't want to be related to this leak. They didn't want to get any sort of negative flag or publicity for their company. However, the company that he is officially confirmed to be working for, that fits in with the story of the LinkedIn profile, is him moving from one company to another from 2 years ago. That company has not put out any statements, and he works for them, and it is a printing company, and they've also worked with Assassin's Creed before, so we know they do also work with video games. I think what's very telling is the fact that they just have not put out a statement. Why would they when this guy is working with their company? Now they're attracting a lot of negative publicity, and they're not doing anything to displace that, unlike this other company who did it when this guy wasn't even working there. I just think that's very interesting. Another interesting note is that there is a video out there by this bank apparently that's been out for a couple years that shows very similar materials to what we've seen in the leak from this printing company, and it matches up really well, and the video was taken down once it was catching a lot of attention, and the video has been out for a couple years, so why did they just decide to take it out randomly now? Potentially because it's incriminating, so that also seems to sort of increase the likelihood of this leak being real. Does that confirm it? No, but like everything else, it seems to sort of up the percentage just a little bit more. Now, another thing that we actually notice is there's actually more than one banner art within the image. If you increase the contrast of the image, you can actually see under the sheet of paper another additional piece of banner art. So that seems like even more to sort of fake and recreate. That's just an additional amount of work that, in my opinion, increases the likelihood of this leak even more so. And on top of all of that, guys, 7 characters actually fits within blog theory. The mathematical prediction based off of all of the blog updates, the patterns of it, how it's held to that pattern even despite the Nintendo Direct delay, and on top of the metadata for the website, it all suggests that there could be 6 to 8 more characters left to be revealed, and 7 fits right within that range. Another thing is that if you look at what would be the unique fighters, all of these characters have been characters that were considered to be an actual playable fighter in Smash Bros. At some point before by Sakurai. So maybe when Sakurai's saying everyone is here, he really means everyone. Everyone who has had a history with Smash Bros. Even behind the scenes who didn't make it into the final game beforehand, maybe now they will. That sort of matches up as well. And on top of that, these 5 unique fighters would also fit really nicely with the supposed 5 more additional stages we're going to be getting with the game, according to that Coral scan that said 108 stages instead of 103. So taking all of these things into consideration, do any one of these points completely 100% confirm the leak? No, and even altogether, it doesn't. But when you put the whole picture together, it builds a very interesting narrative, and in my opinion, at this point, because of all of the mounting evidence, it just seems extremely likely at this point. It would be more crazy if this was somehow an elaborate hoax, as opposed to it being a legitimate leak. Now, here's another thing to take into consideration. Just because this banner art may be a real leak, that doesn't mean that this is going to be the final representation for the game. Do I think it is? Yes, but sometimes we've gotten leaks beforehand, and they're just leaks of what's going on in development at that point in time. Things do change. So this leak may not be 100% true, even if it is a real leak, but I think it is a real leak. I think that everything in here is going to be in the final game. I think this is representative of the final roster. That's my opinion. Of course, I could be wrong. It could be an elaborate hoax. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully I covered everything. I'm sure I missed something though, so point it out in the comments below. And thank you so much for listening and watching, everyone. And actually, if you really want to go in on this Grinch Leak with me, I'm going to be doing a live podcast tonight. We're going to go ham on this Grinch Leak. We're going to talk about every facet to it, debate about it, talk about everything, maybe have some inside sources as well. We're going to go all in about this, and it's going to be a really, really good time. So if you're interested, make sure to check it out. Hit the subscribe button, that notification bell, and we'll be talking about this at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the 29th, which also is my birthday, by the way. Just saying. But I realize a lot of you may watch this after the fact, so again, you can probably check the archive of the podcast. It's going to be podcast number 51. But regardless, everyone, thank you so much for listening up to this point. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all really soon.